Welcome to LaughNapkin. Today I have 3 stories for episode 13 of r/MaliciousCompliance. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, go ahead and subscribe for dailies. Now let's get into it. Unless you're in the middle of nowhere, you have to work during vacation. Your salary. I work for a small company in the trades as head of the IT department, aka the only IT person. Truthfully, the gig is pretty great. Good pay, benefits, and I can come and go as I please within reason. The 2 people I have to answer to are the Vice President and CEO, and as is par for the course, they know dick all about anything to do with technology and generally leave me be as I'm good at my job and everything runs smoothly. Being a small company, a lot of us don't take vacations due to A, building the company, and B, not having replacements for the time we're gone. But after 2 years vacationless, we're in the US, my wife convinces me to use the time I'm given to decompress and take a small 1-week getaway. I talk to Vice President and he gives me the thumbs up to take the time, barring I get everything in order and do some minor teaching to other staff in case of an emergency. Cool. Easy. Enter FOD, Field Operations Director, a man who is an attack dog for the Vice President for no reason, as the Vice President is nothing but polite and reasonable. Field Director loves giving everyone a hard time, adding steps to tasks to make himself look like he's part of the process, reminding everyone how much of a boss he is to the rest of us in management, and calling me a nerd any chance he gets. Fair to say, I dislike Field Director immensely. After making my rounds with other staff, it's Field Director's time to do some scary computer-related learning. Field Director refuses to look weak under any circumstances and gets very aggressive when learning new things because I'm the boss, I already know. In the midst of learning, it dawns on him to ask why he has to learn this stuff anyway. I'm the nerd and it's my job to do this. I clue him in on the week I'm taking off and this stuff is just precautionary. This worries Field Director as he'll have to retain information, answer questions, and do some minor troubleshooting. The conversation went something like this. I wish I could tell you that this guy isn't this much of a jerk, but he is. Field Director: who approved your vacation? Me: Vice President did, as long as I can get you guys comfortable with some small maintenance. Field Director: only I approve vacation time. I'm your boss. Side note, he does this so much that Vice President actually wrote out the hierarchy in chart form, and we all carry a digital copy with us to remind him who he's actually in charge of. Me: you're not. Shows chart. Field Director: well, fine, but your salary, so you have to work during your vacation. You'll bring your laptop and work phone with you. Me: when you vacation, you make it very clear you're unreachable and can't be bothered even if it's an emergency. Field Director: that's because I go to places without service, and unless you're going to the mountains, you have to work. Your salary. Malicious compliance initiated. Me: just to be clear, if I go to a place without service, I won't be expected to work, yeah? Field Director: that's right. But you're a nerd and you don't do anything outdoorsy. Me: great. Thanks for clearing that up. Fast forward 3 weeks later and it's vacation time. All my ducks are in a row. People are comfortable with me being gone for the week and are all encouraging me to just disconnect. A close coworker of mine knows the conversation Field Director and I had and asked what I plan to do about it, so I shared my easy but effective plan. 1. Wife and I rented a cabin in the woods, 2 hours from the nearest town and it doesn't have service. 2. Set up automatic email replies that have all IT questions and concerns forwarded to Field Director since he's the boss, he knows. 3. Leave work phone on the charger in my office with ringer on. door locked so he has to hear it, and voicemail changed to have field director become the IT for the week. Coworker loves the idea of flooding field director with questions he can't answer so much that he gets other coworkers in on it. Midday through the week, and I get a call from coworker with an update. Field director loses it. He can't keep up with any requests for help and didn't bother to memorize the simple tasks I showed him, so he does what any good boss does and puts in a request to take a vacation until I get back. Retreat is always an option. Nothing screams leader more than retreat. It's not weakness and failure if he's not there. My coworkers were able to manage, and field director got his 3-day vacation, unfortunately. After the week off, I'm called to Vice President's office to catch up and get things back on track. Vice President obviously heard of the hardships field director faced in my absence and laughed at my malicious compliance, surprisingly. Vice President struck a deal with me moving forward since it was made clear to him no one else knew how to do my job. I can go on vacation whenever I'd like, as long as I bring my laptop and phone and check in once a week. They'll refund my vacation time on that day, even if I only work for 5 minutes. I took that, but with the caveat of making field director actually learn some of my duties just in case. Vice President agreed. Now I do an hour of teaching a week to a very surly field director. After all, he's the boss. He's gotta know. You want the data exactly as you specify? Okay. Every year, an external agency requests data from our company. The first time this happened, the accountant liaised with me on the requirements and the format I would send it to her in, Excel in a particular layout, to facilitate her data entry to the agency's webpage. After the first year and realizing this would be a yearly occurrence, I created a script and templates. The accountant would give me the dates and a few other specifics, and I would send her the data within a day, hour if I felt like it. This year, the accountant was on leave, so her boss accountant, took over and talked to me over the phone. I need the data for XYZ event. Oh, is this the yearly request? Sure, could I have the dates and specifics? No. This is new. You need to get me this data from that table and blah 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 for another few minutes. I didn't bother to take notes since I was sure this was the same request and already opened my scripts ready to input the new data requirements. Yes, that's what they ask for every year. I just need the... Boss accountant interrupts me. No, you are not listening to me. Do I need to speak to your boss? This is a new request. She paused to breathe, and I quickly apologized. Oh no, so sorry. Can you please tell me what you need again? At this point, I already knew I was going to maliciously comply. Why else be so polite? Boss accountant repeats her requirements, and this time I take detailed notes since she was so specific in which table she wanted the data from as well. She takes inordinate pride in knowing the backbone of the system and how it works. Who was I, a lonely tech peon, to tell her otherwise? I apologized again and promised to send it to her by the end of the next working day, since it was, as she was well aware, really complicated. And urgent too, since there was a submission deadline. I took a coffee break and the chance to quickly update my boss about this priority request, and that my other tasks had to wait until this was sent out to boss accountant. I told my boss what boss accountant said. It's not the same yearly request. There were apparently some changes, but since the documents were so sensitive, I could not review them. I only had her word on the requirements, and since it was so specific, I would give her exactly what she wanted. She should have gone to my boss first if it was a new request, but she decided she would bully me into giving it to her urgently. My boss didn't want to get involved and seals the deal for me. Give her what she wants. So I spent the next hour extracting large amounts of raw data and pasting them into Excel, Screw formatting and layout. Boss Accountant knows what raw data looks like. Auto-calculated fields and date ranges. Pivot tables to organize. Boss Accountant never mentioned that. How would I know? How could I guess? I sent it early. A large unzipped Excel file emailed the Boss Accountant, CC my boss on the urgent data requested. I sent it the next day before our lunch hour. I knew she would see it before leaving for lunch and would want to check it for a chance to berate me ASAP if it wasn't exactly what she asked for. Spoiler alert, it was exactly what she asked for. She never spoke of it to me again. Her team wasn't happy that she was late to join them for lunch. They have to walk past my cubicle. I waited for the accountant to return from her vacation and gave her a few days before I asked her how this year's submission of external agencies' requests went. She was concerned. Was I on leave too? Boss Accountant was manipulating a huge Excel file and it didn't look anything like I've sent previously. She thought perhaps my boss had given her the data, since he wouldn't know what we had discussed and worked with previously. It turns out it was the same yearly request. Boss Accountant spent a few days tediously doing what my scripts already do, and she could have just copied and pasted from my scripted data. Won't accept 2 weeks notice? Okay, bye. I used to work in the deli department in a popular chain of grocery stores. We had the most incompetent manager, Clueless Potato, who is also our union rep, so you can't complain or get rid of her. I have no idea if this is even allowed, but this clueless fart had somehow accomplished this and little else. For example, we would have a Tuesday special that left us slammed to the point where people were upset with the wait times and how quickly it sold out. She would be scheduled for the time the special was happening and take her lunch immediately once people started pouring in, saying, "I can't handle this today," leaving me to serve 3 counters, fish, cold cuts, and hot foods, with a crowd demanding our lunch special. So I learned to get creative with my annoyance in many ways, but I'll just post the icing on the proverbial cake. 3 of us were tired of her antics and planned to all quit within the same week, 2 days apart after Sam, our awesome assistant manager, announced he was getting transferred to a different store, closer to home at his request. The first person hands in her 2-week notice, no problem. Second person, let's call him Tim, goes 2 days later and comes by to see me at the counter. I was scheduled to work with Clueless Potato for another Tuesday special. Me: "Hey, did you give your notice yet?" Tim: "She refused it." Me: "What? She can't do that." Tim: "She said, 'I don't have time for this,' and shut the door on me." I stew for a few moments before a sudden eureka hits me. Well, then I guess we'll just quit right now. That would be funny. I don't think she's even worked a Tuesday special. Me: "She said she doesn't have time for any notice, so I'm leaving." I pack up my things and head to the door to leave with Tim. He wasn't scheduled to work that day, when Clueless Potato runs up, fastest I've ever seen her move, and stops us. "Where are you going? There's a lineup waiting for their food." Me: "I quit." Clueless Potato: "You have to give me notice." Me: "That's weird because Tim just said you don't have time for that." Clueless Potato looks at Tim, who nods casually, causing her face to turn a bold combination of purple and red. "You still need to give me notice." Me: "That's BS, but here's your notice. I quit and I'm leaving now. Goodbye, Clueless Potato." I heard from Sam that she called everyone at the last minute to try to get someone to do the whole Tuesday special, and she ended up dealing with that madness herself for a change. For anyone thinking this poor lady is probably overstressed with taking care of a huge multi-counter department, We, of course, tried the empathetic approach where we all went out of our way to help her deal with her biggest stresses, ordering and paperwork. The assistant manager, Sam, stayed an average of 20 extra hours each week to try and take care of all the orders and paperwork so she could stay in the department and do the less stressful work that we needed help with. She instead took that opportunity to use Sam as a scapegoat for all of her problems. She started to blame him for slacking on paperwork and never doing orders. She started to complain to the assistant store manager, and Sam was starting to get written up for not doing Clueless Potato's job. I was working an entire 8-hour shift with her where she complained that she had to stay in the office and do all the paperwork that Sam had already finished, and I was blasted all day with Candy Crush notifications asking for likes from her Facebook account. So I don't really believe she actually does any work in her office anymore. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really enjoyed making it. Don't forget to join my Discord if you want to submit your own story or just be part of the LaughNapkin community. And please, consider subscribing as it helps me out big time.